Here in the past position. So you know what this says is you don't want to use or think about relationships that didn't work at this time. Instead, you want to say, hey, the past no longer exists. Accept how I bring its memory into the now. So I'm going to bring the past into the now in beautiful ways and re-examine old relationships, even ones that didn't work, because I'm on a new path. And people are going to be reacting, responding, and working with me in new ways. I need to be open to that and not putting them in a box the way things were in the past.
Okay.
Crowning you, another fantastic card. It's the Strength card. And so this card is going to say, you're going to be going forward in confidence. You are and you can see this yourself too, the beautiful naked lady riding the lion.
Oh yeah.
So I hope you're up for it.
I'm up for the challenge.
It means people are going to see you, and they're really going to see you. And it says, you notice when she rides the lion, she's not grabbing the lion. She has one hand grabbing the universe, and then grounded energy into the lava of the power of the earth. And this is connecting both of those powers in a beautiful way, which is you, connecting that in a wonderful, fantastic way. If that card wasn't good enough, oh my goodness, here's your outcome card.
Okay.
The Magician.
Ah.
You have no idea how many people want this card in their outcome, no matter what the question. This says, in this life path, now, as you're being powerful, seen in the flow of power, in the spotlight, in the sun, you're going to be able to be magical, creating miracles in life in a way that no other person will be able to understand. You will take elements that other people would like maybe discard, but to you, you'll turn those rocks into diamonds.
Great.
Magically, as you go forward with all the elements. Now in the tarot, the elements, of course, are swords, stones, cups, and where's my last one here? Oh, wands, right in his hand. So the magical elements of all four legs of the table give you strength to get things done in a fantastically beautiful, creative way. But don't fool yourself. People will be watching. So if you think you're going to have secrets, they'll see everything.
That's okay. I have nothing to hide.
So good job shuffling the cards.
Oh, that's great. And you talked about the energy. When you put your own energy into shuffling the cards. And this is like a confirmation. This is like a visual confirmation of things that I have been learning through the years. So when people come to you for a reading, that's what they're getting.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
And actually, I believe that the more psychic the person is I'm reading for, the less the reading is a surprise, and the more the reading is simply a confirmation of what they already intuit. It's like they feel, hey, I feel like I'm kind of like on my right path. I'm doing it. What do the cards say? They say it too. Well, what do you know?
Yeah.
And they're confirming with you in these beautiful images what you know is true for you already.
Well, they are beautiful images, and I'm very fortunate to be sitting here having a reading with you, because these just they're beautiful. Now, let's go a little bit more into some of the symbols, the other symbols, a little bit more in depth, because you've taken a lot of trouble to put these in there. So what would you say about some of the symbols that are on this card as far as the astrological signs and the stones? Well,
there are just so many additional influences here, because I wanted the deck, at least the deck I was going to be using, the one I created, to be able to be really, really full. I will honestly admit, though, when I first started the cards, the spaces here in the borders were blank. And a friend of mine, Christine, a wonderful, wonderful woman, she said, well, you know, Joseph, I really kind of like astrology. Are you going to have astrology in your cards? And I thought, well, that would be good, because people like astrology. And there's a good match with tarot, divination, and astrology. Yeah, we'll put that in. And so then she said, well, that's really beautiful. You put that in the borders, that works out. well, are you going to do runes too? And I thought, oh my goodness, that's a good idea. And so I added the runes, and then it was a snowball, rolling downhill.
Absolutely.
And then I thought, okay, the Kabbalah, gemstones, Roman letters, yes, no feature, people feature, indicators for time, past, present, or maybe, it just started coming in. Now, if you were to read all those features into one reading, it would just take hours and hours and hours. And that's really not my intent to do it that way. But what is my intent is when people are using the cards, I call it lifting, I really do. And so I look at the cards and there's so many things happening. Some things actually brighten up and come forward for me. And when those come up, I feel like that's my guide saying, you're supposed to talk about that. You see that spot right there? You're supposed to talk about that spot. Now, when I look at all these cards for you, I have to tell you the major influence that keeps coming up for me is Leo. It's the lion, and it's the astrology sign of Leo. Now, of course, we're in August. We happen to be in August right now for taping. And that's a nice coincidence because Leo is the perfect energy for you to be manifesting right now. It's no surprise that keeps coming up as I look. Now, if you happen to love runes, you can use the rune feature extensively in your readings because they're here in the cards. If you like the I Ching, extensively, you can bring that in. I'm more floaty. And so whatever comes up is what I bring forward for the person who has the question.
Well, that was exciting. And I got a good reading. Thank you. This is fascinating. Job. Let's go back into a little bit of history with the tarot cards. Tarot cards have been around for forever.
Well, documentedly, that's a new word. In documented history, it's more only around since the 13th century. There's allusions to tarot going back to ancient Egypt in a different form. But it really was kind of a card game in Italy called Tarocchi. That's the historical documented origins. Then right about 300 years later, it was documented to be used in divination in France. And so that's where you get the word tarot with the silent T at the end.
Okay.
I believe that there have been paper parchment divination tools for a long, long time in many forms. They just kind of coalesced more or less in Italy in the Renaissance. And of course, the Renaissance, the Da Vinci Code is very famous for the secret encoding of information into artwork. And the tarot was that medium. There were secrets in alchemy put into those images, specifically hidden for their use and for their the way to keep them from being destroyed, that information. So I love it. I think it's a magical way to do psychic work.
Oh, absolutely. And they're so beautiful. There's so many things to look at and to feel. They have a good feeling about them.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. Now, I know some people who are watching, who are watching the show right now, are beginners. They've never touched a deck of tarot cards.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, don't be afraid. They're just cards and pictures.
Well, there's the death card and the hangman card. I mean, there is a lot of urban legend that goes along with, having your cards read and getting bad cards, So what are those cards? Put an end to that right now.
Well, I will say the death card itself actually looks kind of scary. But for the tarot reader, for the psychic, it's this card that's the scariest card. It's a blowing up building. It's the Tower card.
Oh.
Because this means destruction and demolition and big time change influences that are going to take your attention.
Okay.
The Death card simply really does mean change. And even in my deck, the Death card itself, and I'm gonna tell your viewers this because it's kind of a little secret. It's not in my book. It's something that I did purposefully in this card. My skeleton, my skull here, my death card has no teeth. Now, when people get the Quest Tarot, almost no one ever notices that. You just assume in your brain that they're there. But the reason I did that specifically was because I wanted to say, death's bite isn't final. With every ending, there is a new beginning. And so this card for readers and psychics isn't scary at all. For there to be physical death indicated in a reading, you need 3 cards present in a certain kind of position. in 20 years of doing